Morning. This is a class for the second grade because we actually read graphs and do data interpretation. But what we're going over here is using a graph to show us data and then going back and looking at some sources and see if things line up. Because when looking forward, there's a thing called telegraphing. And telegraphing is things that are put out in the news or in public to look for a reaction. And based on that reaction, then they fine tune it. It's another tool of propaganda, and with social media, you see like 1,000% more. So it's a lot easier to do a video to go over this than to write text or show pictures. And then I would say go out and look for yourself. Quit listening to everybody and the parroting. Make your own conclusions. I'm not going to tell you which way to go. So what we're looking at here is one of the projections under COVID-19 healthdata.org. And what we're looking at here is your estimated infections looking forward from now until January 1. Now, we'd like to say about 30 days is a decent look. After that, it's going to be a little iffy. So let's just look at estimated infections for Maryland. You'll notice here was our peak back in April. And if you notice here, we're here today where this line is. And if you notice, say a month out, we're starting to rise. And we're seeing that in the Maryland percent in both Maryland's and Hopkins. And there is 28 states that is actually in the last 7 days, moving average going up. Some will say that was Labor Day, but we'll know in another week or two because that would then calm down. So if you look in the middle of December, what do you see? Not real good. A lot of infections. Now, true, not everybody's going to go to the hospital, but again, we're looking at as many, if not as much, and then this doesn't include regular flu. So again, look at your thing. Total deaths, again, is going up. You see two curves here. So we're definitely in a second wave projected. And the good news is, yes, there'll be deaths, but deaths are down 30%. And that is due to remdesivir, I can't say it, and dexamethasone, which is your steroid. So basically, you go into the hospital, you get the remdesivir stuff, which is the good stuff. And then if you happen to need oxygen, if you drop below, I think 95, maybe a little lower on your O2, then you'll start getting the steroid to help your lungs, get rid of inflammation there. That's your pretty much standard of care and is pretty much approved EUA, meaning experimental. If you're lucky, you'll get the Regeneron cocktail, and that's just antibodies. And they've been doing that for years with rheumatoid arthritis and other things like that. So we got some good therapeutics now that we didn't have during the first wave, which really took out probably most of the people that were very vulnerable. So that's usually how it works in wave one, is it takes out the really close to really sick. So again, deaths I'm not so concerned with, even though it projects they're going to go up, which would be normal. More infections, more chance of death. Our hospital resource use, not so worried about your invasive ventilators because they're really trying to do away with that and go with the therapeutics first. ICU beds the same, but for full hospital use, it looks like it's going to load up to be worse than our first wave. So again, your range here is large, and notice the first month it's a lot less, and then it gets a little bit iffy. Mask use, pretty much we are at about 50%. We've never gotten better than that. If you look at Japan, they're at 80%. And no, it doesn't stop the virus completely, and it's not supposed to. It's just to cut the numbers down and lower probability. Probability is a math concept. People need to learn it, or don't gamble. Social distancing. What you're going to notice is we had a large lockdown here, and even without a government lockdown, it's projecting that people, as they see infections rise, more people have issues, more family members, things like that. Every country I've looked at is showing the same thing. They're all going to go back into self-preservation mode. And again, we're not really going to see that until somewhere in December. And that's why Amazon and people are really ramping up to be doing deliveries, and because they don't think people are going to the store. Now, finally, how do I make sure that some of this stuff is backed up? And no, I don't really like the news, but this is one way of getting it. So here is El Pas. It's an English edition of Spanish news. So remember, Europe gets hit first, then us, just like wave 2. And as you see here today, there are now under a lockdown, back to a lockdown. And guess what? Everybody is either it's politics, and we got 50% won't wear a mask, and no, everybody's complaining, and they're all out protesting. Gee, just like this country. Hey, let's take a look at France. France 24. Again, what do we see? Bars and cafes close in Paris among rising infection. So, well, not only that, we got the war and things like that. And they go over some U.S. news. But again, these are local news to those countries, and they're starting to get hit. And we're going to see that here. So, again, those countries like France and Spain are similar in population, a little bit bigger than, say, California. And in our case, the United States, each state, again, will be different. Just like East Coast was hit first with COVID, and now it's moved into the Midwest and upper Midwest. So this is what I teach the grandson, is we look at a graph and what is it telling us? And believe it or not, a second grader can figure that out. And then I tell him that instead of listening to people, it's go out and find out. And that's pretty easy to do. And unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think so. And I think you're going to see a rise through December and January, and then a taper off. And then as a vaccine gets deployed, we should see a downgrade. But the reason why infections kick up is because, like now, most people are letting down their guard. I'm sure most of you, even myself, are not spraying down their light switches every day like we were in the first week. And we've all backed off from some of our normal things. The hand washing seems to be in check, which is probably a good thing. But I know I wear my mask because of I have to. My risk level is a 5 for a personal risk. And believe it or not, President Trump was only a risk level 2. So he's actually genetically in a little better shape than a lot of us due to other genetic issues such as diabetes, asthma, sickle cell anemia, immunity issues such as cancers, and things like rheumatoid arthritis. So everybody's going to be a little different. Everybody's going to have to rate their own risk based on that. And then they're going to have to look at their family risk and look at, how they go out and do things. You'll notice that the older people are pretty much figured it out. They mask up. They don't go out as much. And the younger people below 30 are the ones who are out. So then make your own conclusions. There's plenty of data out there. You don't need to really go by what's in the news. You can figure it out yourself. Anyway, yes, projections are that. Not all come true, but this particular one has done a very good job. Have a great day.